The Stratioti or Stradioti were mercenary units from the Balkans recruited mainly by states of southern Europe and Central Europe from the 15th century until the middle of the 18th century. They pioneered light cavalry tactics in European armies in the early modern era. The Stradioti were recruited in Albania, Greece, Dalmatia, Serbia, and Cyprus. Those units continued the military traditions of Byzantine and Balkan cavalry warfare. As such, they had previously served Byzantine and Albanian rulers. They then entered Venetian military service during the Ottoman-Venetian Wars in the 15th century. It has been suggested that a ready pool of Albanian Stradioti was the product of the northern Albanian tribal system of feud and consequent emigration. The precise year when Stratioti units began to be recruited in Western armies is not known. However, under 1371 state decrees of the Venetian Republic, those Greeks that lived in Venetian-controlled territories were allowed to join the Venetian army. The precise definition of their ethnic identity was the subject of careful study, while modern scholarship concludes that they were Albanians and Greeks who mainly originated from the Peloponnese. Studies on the origin of their names indicate that around 80% of the Stradioti were of Albanian origin, and very few of Slav origin. The remainder were Greek, most of whom were captains. Some of the officers' surnames who were of Greek origin. A number of them, such as the Palaiologoi and Komnenoi, were members of Byzantine noble families. Others seemed to be of South Slavic origin. The study on the names of the Stradioti does not indicate that most of them came directly from Albania proper, rather from the Venetian holdings in southern and central Greece. The Stradioti who moved with their families to Italy in the late 15th and early 16th centuries had been born in the Peloponnese, where their ancestors immigrated in the late 14th and early 15th century, after the request of the Byzantine despots of the Morea, Theodori and Theodore II Palaiologos, who invited the Albanians to serve as military colonists in the Peloponnese in the attempt to resist Ottoman expansion in the Balkans, since the First Ottoman-Venetian War and later Ottoman Venetian Wars of the 15th and 16th century. Stratioti units, both Albanian and Greek, served the Venetian forces in the Morea. In addition, the Venetian authorities allowed the settlement of Albanians in Napoli di Romagna in the Argolis region, outside of the walls of the city. Relations between the two groups and relations between Albanians, Greeks and the central Venetian administration varied. Some families intermarried with each other, while other times disputes erupted, as in 1525 when both Greeks and Albanians asked to serve only under the leadership of their own commanders. In the reports of the Venetian commander of Nauplian, Bartolomeo Minio stressed that the Albanian Stratioti were unreliable contrary to the Greek units which he considered loyal. In other reports, attitudes towards Albanians are positive. As Venice lost territory to the Ottomans in the Morea, the numbers of Stratioti the administration employed lowered. By 1524, no more than 500 Stratioti remained in Venetian Argolis. The Stradioti used javelins, swords, maces, crossbows, bows, and daggers. They traditionally dressed in a mixture of Ottoman, Byzantine and European garb. The armor was initially a simple mail hauberk, replaced by heavier armor in later eras. As mercenaries, the Stradioti received wages only as long as their military services were needed. They wore helmets which were known as chasca, from the Spanish word casco. From the end of the 15th century, they also used gunpowder weapons. The Stradioti wore particular caps, which were very similar to those of the Albanian ethnographic region of Liberia, with conical shape and a small extension, reinforced inside by several sheets of paper attached together, ensuring surprising resistance. Those caps were called chapeau albanoi, known as Albanian hat in French.